Stevie, Sean, and then so some of the youth from Salem are here, but some of you I don't know, and some of you I do know. But those of you that don't know me, a little bit about me is that I'm from Vancouver, and I'm the youth director over there for the Spanish church over there for the youth, and I'm part of the Vancouver One Church, and we have that every Saturday up there. And pretty much what we do is very similar, but it's very different, as in worship style. And it's kind of like it's very impactful just being here, and like just with the lighting and everything that's here. I think it's more, I don't know, more comforting, more relaxed here, a lot more soothing. I have to say, like it's very calm and soothing. I actually really like that because over there, we have like such a high beat, like we're always like point A to point B to point C, and then we just, I don't know, just the way just different style, different people. But I do enjoy it, and I'm just happy to be here. And before we get started, we could just bow our heads and have a word of prayer. Dear Father, we thank you in this time that we can be together here on your Sabbath day, and that we can think that you have given us another week and so many blessings throughout this week. And we know some of us have been through a lot of trials and tribulations, but we came here and help us in this moment to put those things aside and just to focus on you, Lord. But that these words are mine, but yours. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. So, to be honest, like, I have like a lot of notebooks, and whenever I have ideas or scriptures, whenever I'm just reading, I always just write them down. Like, just some thought process, any question I've had, any struggle I've gone through, I always write something down, put it down, and be like, okay, this is where I can go if I ever get there. But this week, oh man, like, I've never struggled so bad to like figure out what I wanted to say. Because there's so many things that I wanted to focus on and speak about. And I always give a title. But today, I just accept the fact that, okay, maybe I don't need a title. What if I just go in with the Bible verse and eventually I'll come up with one? So my goal is that I'll be speaking to you, and at the end we can summarize what we can get out of this. So for those of you who have your Bibles or your Bible apps, if you can open up to John chapter 14. John chapter 14, verse 23. John chapter 14, verse 23. And it says, Jesus answered and said unto him, If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with them. So, how I came to choose this verse in particular was, there's so many interpretations of now in society of basically like, what does it truly mean to care about somebody or to love somebody? And so we have these different thought process of like, okay, love is basically you're born and you love people of a certain gender or some people are born to be married to somebody. Like I know there's one friend that she was pretty much like her husband was chosen for her at a certain age, and then they finally told her, and then she was like, okay, I might as well go with this. But it was so weird because knowing her, the person like she was going out with, she like deeply cared about, but then that eventually like ended, and that was a great heartbreak. And then eventually she went through with the wedding and all this, and I was like, wow, she in one aspect somebody chose love of her life for her, but in one aspect you can say she chose to love somebody. And now I see like all these posts and what they're doing, and when I catch them here and then, it's like, wow, like these people are actually having a good life. They're choosing to love each other. They could have completely rebelled. Or another aspect, some people lose their parents. I had one friend where she lost both her parents in a car crash, and then eventually she was adopted by that aunt, which was the twin, it's like, okay, let me put it this way. Her birth mother was the aunt, which is now her mother, because her parents couldn't conceive a child. So technically she is with her real mom, but her real parents, which she was with, died. Does that make sense? It is so complicated and so twisted, but out of all this, it's like, out of these complex situations, she's choosing to love her mother, which she kind of barely knows, but she chose to love her. So from that situation to another, and then I'll give you another example. It's just completely insane and crazy. Another one is that one of my friends, he in fact grew up in a foster home, and before he eventually came into the house he was just jumping around from house to house to house to another house and to another house, until eventually I got to know him in high school and he finally settled in. I don't know how many houses he was in there, but he had so much hate, and there's just one person that out of that home he truly cared about, which is one of his siblings, stepbrother, adopted brother, I guess. And I'm just seeing these complex situations, and all of them have a trend to them, that no matter how complex and how messed up the situation is, these people chose to love somebody. That they all, in one aspect, have something similar, that they just ended up in a situation and they honestly could have hated somebody. They honestly could have looked another way and said, no, I don't know what love truly means. What is this concept? This world doesn't feel that way toward me. Why should I feel it towards everybody else? And so on my mind, I'm like, man, I thought I had it bad and complicated. Now these people I just admire, that even though they're not perfect, nobody's perfect, but they all chose to love somebody. But if we compare that in our lives to how Jesus lived his life, Jesus, honestly, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, we can see that he chose to love us. He made us, but in one aspect you can say that he created us, and then we fell into the situation we're in right now. And then he came down and gave the ultimate sacrifice and pretty much bought us again, redeemed us. Here's one man that truly can say that he loved us with his whole heart, his whole life. So I'm seeing all around me all these different people, or have seen through my life, all these people that have shown a little bit of Christ's love in their lives. Let it be big, let it be little, we all have something similar that we can learn from each other. And that's that we can learn to care about each other, to love each other. And I think that is one of the most precious things that we can have as a humanity, honestly. And that's one of the biggest things that Jesus tries to teach us. It's one of the most hardest things to honestly do in the same way. Because we all have, probably tells you this because he tells us a lot of time. We need to realize that there's all these social norms, political agendas, all these different beliefs, and different denominations of Christians versus different religions, and people honestly dividing each other in all these different things that we do like and don't like. But honestly, we get caught up in these things that we don't get back to the one thing that's truly important, is that, are we learning to love each other? Are we learning to care for each other? But if we don't know this, where do we learn this from? And that's where I came to this verse, is that God says that he loves us, and he came down and died on the cross to love us, not to condemn the world, but to have it saved. But with this verse, we're trying to learn how to love God, because this is the guy that he says that I am love. So if we can understand and be honestly reading more about him, studying more about him, we can honestly have that connection with that fountain of love, which is him. And right here in this verse, in John chapter 14, verse 23, he's teaching us what we have to do to love each other. It says, Jesus answered and said unto him, if a man love me, he will keep my words. You have to understand, in chapter 14, this is close to the period where they just just got together in the house. They just washed the feet. They're starting the supper. And this is the period where Jesus ends in the most stressful position of his life, in his human life. Right here, you have this man, human, in his back of his mind, knowing that it's coming, that he's going to have to die for us, that sacrifice is going to happen that night. And here he is giving hope to these men. And him crying out to these men, saying that, don't you understand what I'm trying to go through? I want you to communicate with me. I want you to support me the same way I'm trying to support it to you. And unfortunately, they, obviously you guys know the story of how they're all bickering of who's going to be in the right hand of God, I'm definitely not going to wash his feet, why me, who's honestly going to be closest to him, who's the one who's going to betray God. And I'm like, wow, these guys are so distracted in all these worldly ideas. Don't they see that they have God himself, Jesus in the flesh with them, trying to show them what true love is, that hope he's trying to give to them, because he truly cares about them. But if we take a look and analyze that situation, it happens to us all the time. We get caught up in our school, in our jobs, our family, even the little things with one tribe we get so stressed out about. We have to remember that we have Jesus with us. We have the Holy Spirit with us. We have him in the midst of us. We don't actually have to have Jesus in the flesh. Like, we weren't given that special opportunity to live that life, to be with him in that aspect. We can't say that if we were there with him, we wouldn't have done the same thing. Because right now that we're giving his word, the complete story from beginning to end, we can see that we're making the same mistakes that they did. And it just blows my mind, like, trying to contemplate and trying to fathom how we as people are trying to struggle to live this life, but we're realizing that we're forgetting his love to keep his words. And we have to come back to that. We have to come back to, honestly, learning what that true love is. What it truly means to give it your all. Just give it your all to God, and to honestly know what love truly means. Because if we go on to the next verse, it says, he that loveth me not keepeth not my sayings, and the words which ye hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. These things I have spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, I give unto you. This is very inspiring. He's telling us to keep his words, and now he's saying that, and during this time, I'm going to be gone. But you're going to have somebody with you to teach you, to comfort you. When you need him, he'll be there. And sometimes we forget through all the things that we're going through. And he's giving us peace. He says, my peace I give unto you. Not the world giveth, give unto you. And then he goes on to say, let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Honestly, fear, that is one of the biggest statements. Letting your heart be troubled. That can be interpreted in so many different ways, so many different translations. And he goes on and said, neither let it be afraid. Man, so I've seen so many people in my life that have had so much potential and so many family situations that could have been improved, but they're just afraid. Fear is one of the toughest emotions to confront. Some of the drastic decisions people make when they're afraid is scary. This world has been influenced by love, hate, but also fear. People do drastic things when they're afraid. Wars have been created. Families have been broken. People have died out of fear, out of reactions. and let your heart be troubled, man. To be honest, like, I'm one of the biggest people that I always let myself get out of, whenever this situation is, unfortunately, it's weird. Like, Pedro knows that whenever there's a problem, it's like weird. I become the problem, and I get like overwhelmed in one sense, but then I think I have it controlled, but in a way, I let myself be so taken over by the situation. And then I end up not realizing that in those situations, there's other people that need love, that need care. Because this world is desperate for that love. This world is honestly desperate for each other. Just that honest, nurturing love that we can have to one another. And I'm probably using loosely right now, but it's honestly, we need to realize that we need to start using that word more, because the more we start saying it, the more we start relating it to God. So pretty much the biggest point I'm trying to make, I guess, is when God says to keep my words, everything, I mean everything. When he says when somebody asks you something and they later on don't give it